Pursuant to Section 84-1411 of the Nebraska statutes, notice of this meeting was given March 17, 2023. The meeting will convene at 6 p.m. and visitors may obtain a request to be heard form from staff for any presentation they have for the meeting. In accordance with policy, the request to be heard forms must be submitted to the secretary within the first 5 minutes of the board meeting in order to be heard at this meeting. Agenda items are subject to reordering at the discretion of the board president. Please attend the entire meeting to ensure you're able to hear any discussion. right. Pursuant to Section 84-1411 of the Nebraska statutes, the next regular meeting of the Board of Education of Douglas County School District 0001 and the Board of Educational Service Unit Number 19 will be held Monday, April 3rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Board Meeting Room of the Teacher Administrative Center, 3215 Cumming Street. The agenda will be kept current and available for public inspection in the Office of the Secretary of the Board of Education at the Administrative Building during regular working hours. Pursuant to Section 84-1412 of the Nebraska statutes, the public is hereby informed that a current copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is published in the Board Meeting Room on the north wall. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Vice President Smith, can you please lead us in the vision and mission?
The vision: every student, every day prepared for success, and the mission: to prepare all students for success in college, career, and life.
Mr. Ray, roll call, please.
Cassidy,
Here.
Erdenberger, Full,
Here.
Head,
Present.
Holman,
Present.
Juarez,
Present.
Cracky, Smith,
Here.
Thielen.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. Moving on, next we have School Spotlight with Mr. Maskell.
President Head, Vice President Smith, members of the board, and Superintendent Logan. Tonight's OPS Proud Spotlight recognizes Omaha Public Schools special education teacher Lisa Moody. Ms. Moody recently won a Milken Education Award, a top national honor for teachers. Ms. Moody.
Good evening, Dr. Logan and esteemed members of the Board of Education. I want to express my gratitude for the opportunity to address you today about my Milken Educator Award. The Milken Educator Award, established by the Milken Family Foundation in 1987, aims to recognize and encourage excellence in education by honoring top educators across the country. The foundation seeks to reward and inspire early to career professionals for their outstanding achievements and their potential to make a significant impact in the future. The Milken Educator Award's motto is, "The future belongs to the educated." The award sets several goals, including celebrating exceptional K-12 educators for the quality of their teaching, professional leadership, and engagement with families and the community, as well as their potential to contribute to the healthy development of children. The foundation also seeks to encourage capable, caring, innovative individuals to pursue teaching as a career. To achieve these goals, the Milken Family Foundation works tirelessly to build a national and state network of Milken educators who can foster their professional development, enhance their career paths, and help shape educational policies. They also connect with other educators, education agencies, universities, corporate partners, and more to improve education. Unlike most teaching recognition programs, the Milken Educator Award is unique in that educators cannot apply, nor do they know that they are under consideration. Candidates are sourced through a confidential process and reviewed by blue ribbon panels appointed by the state departments of education. The most exceptional candidates are recommended for the award, and the final approval is granted by the Milken Family Foundation. When we faced a shortage of special education teachers in our building, the speech pathologist, my principal, and I collaborated on ways to serve students who were typically placed in an ACP self-contained classroom within general education combined with special education interventions. By shifting towards a more inclusive educational environment, we have witnessed tremendous growth in students' academic, social, and linguistic skills. We have also created a culture where all students are welcome and are equal members of the learning community. This inclusive mindset has transformed the way we view each other and measure student growth and achievement. Students celebrate each other's accomplishments and support each other when they are struggling. We are working to create an inclusive community where students learn together, ensuring that all students are prepared for success every day. I have been fortunate to work with incredibly supportive, passionate, and talented colleagues and administrators for the past 11 years. Winning this award is not only a recognition of my work, but also a celebration of the dedication, hard work, and the passion of the teachers and professionals at Jefferson who strive to make a difference in their students' lives every day. I could not have achieved this success without the support of my colleagues and administrators who have been my inspiration and motivation. I express my heartfelt gratitude to each of them and every one of them for their unwavering support for our students. To me, education is not just a job, but a calling. It's about making a difference in the lives of young people and helping them become successful and caring adults. I believe that education is the key to unlocking a better future for our children and our communities. When I interviewed for my job 11 years ago, I was asked, why OPS? I remember telling the HR employee that growing up with cerebral palsy in a small town presented challenges. I often felt isolated because there was no one else who walked like me in my school. I explained what makes OPS exceptional as our diverse community. We embrace differences in cultures, language, religions, and disabilities. Our students grow up surrounded by peers from various backgrounds and ability levels, something I longed for in my own childhood. Although our district faces unique challenges, we strive to create inclusive environments where all students feel seen, heard, and welcomed with open arms. I wanted to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to my, I'm an ugly crier, like my dad, to my family for their unwavering support throughout my life. From the smallest moments to the biggest milestones, they have always been there for me. I am grateful to have you all by my side, and I could not have come this far. Sorry, I'm not a public speaker. Without their love and care, your unwavering support has helped me to overcome challenges and strive towards my goals. I am so fortunate to have such caring and supportive family members, and I hope to continue to make you all proud. Thank you for always believing in me and showing me that my disability does not define me or my potential. In conclusion, I want to dedicate this award to my students. They are the reason that I wake up every morning with a smile on my face and a sense of purpose. They are the driving force behind my dedication to becoming a better teacher every day. This award symbolizes my commitment to serving them with passion, dedication, and excellence. I am grateful for the opportunity to make a difference in their lives and look forward to doing so, continuing to do so in the years to come. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us this evening. We greatly appreciate it, and thank you so much for your work on behalf of the Omaha Public Schools and allowing us to celebrate this success with you.
Thank you.
Your career's been inspiring to all of us. We truly appreciate all that you do on behalf of the district. Colleagues, do we have any questions? Dr. Holman?
First of all, congratulations to you, and thank you so much. We are so very fortunate to have you as an educator in the Omaha Public Schools, and the fact that you dedicated this award to your students tells us all the type of person and teacher that you are and the love and care that you demonstrate for them each and every single day.
Thank you.
What an exceptional honor and achievement for you. As you can tell, the room is all full of tears right along with you. What I wanted to ask you is, if you don't mind sharing, explain to us the moment that you found out that you were the recipient of this prestigious award, because this is huge.
It was very big. Well, we were all, kind of deceived and told it was an assembly for attendance. So none of us went in there thinking like, oh, this is like, we're going to get an award. And we thought it was kind of crazy. There was camera crews, but we didn't think anything of it. And so I had just purchased some new puzzles for a couple of my kids because they don't like big assemblies. And thankfully, one of my students was having me help him put it together, so I was distracted. So when they called my name, uniquely to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get up in front of all these people and these cameras. This is like my worst nightmare. But I was very honored and very surprised. And there are so many teachers at Jefferson who are equally deserving of this award. So I was in no way thinking like, oh, they're going to call my name. And they did. So it was very, very, very surprising and very overwhelming. It was just a complete shock. But it's very nice to see educators recognized for the hard work. So what the Milken Family Foundation does for educators across the country, I think, is pretty magical and special. Thank you.
Ms. Zerdenberger?
I think I inherited Jefferson last year from Miss Cassidy, if I remember correctly. And I remember visiting last summer and getting a lovely tour of the school. And I remember the discussion was about what are we going to do about special ed? You were losing some staff, as everybody was, and it's hard to fill them back in and stuff. And I know that when you all were handed a bowl of lemons, you seem to have made some lemonade, as they say, because I understand that your inclusion program that you were operative in making happen has been, as you said in your remarks, very successful. So thank you not only for what you do every day and the joy with which you do it, but also for being creative in solving problems, you and your administration and staff, because that has been a big positive in the face of some of the challenges we face. So thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ms. Cassidy?
Yes, sadly, the redistricting took Jefferson away from me. You guys are still always, you're still in my hearts. No, really, I have to say, I chuckled when you talked about your acceptance speech, because I think I watched it online like 4 times.
I don't remember any of it. I truly don't even know what I said.
It was so great. I watched it on Twitter like 3 or 4 times. So, your speech, I just want to thank you for being here. I think your speech said it all, very heartfelt. You certainly put your students first above all else, and that's completely evident in just how you carry yourself and everything that you stated tonight. You're at a very special school. You have a very supportive leadership team for sure, and just thank you for being in our district. Thank you so much for all that you do every day and for making us OPS proud.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Ms. Crackey?
I just wanted to thank you for choosing OPS and for your dedication and the fact that you're here and you're a winner. And I think you'll be able to speak to anything from now on. You're going to get braver. And
It's not my wheelhouse.
you'd
Kids,
be,
yes.
you'd
Adults,
be
not so
surprised. You'll be good. But I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I just think it's great that we have that award and that you're a winner. Thank you very much for coming tonight and talking to us.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you again. We greatly appreciate all you do. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate your successes with you. Colleagues, if you could please join me in meeting Miss Moody up at the podium. We have a OPS Proud pin for you, fist bumps, handshakes, and maybe a quick picture, Jeremy. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know about that.
to Denver this week, so I'm really excited to get away.
How many times do you go away? Hey, I have been nowhere, and you keep going.
Not enough. Hey, do you want to go with me to California? I'm looking for someone in May.
It's April, isn't it?
No, I want to go on a trip in May.
What's in California?
Tell you.
Oh, it's with you. Yeah. Is that on the agenda? It's beautiful. Oh, yeah.
I want to go back.
Isn't it nice? And the town there is just so lovely. Yeah, I wanted to see where her parents and the
All right, moving on to board and superintendent communications. Dr. Logan?
right now.
Good evening, President Head, Vice President Smith, members of the board, those here in attendance and watching the stream from home. This evening, the 2018 bond program connects to several agenda items. Improvements at Lewis and Clark Middle and Spring Lake Elementary are before you. Also on the agenda is the accepting substantial completion of Blue STEM Middle. This is our 5th of 5 brand new schools delivered on time and within budget for the students and the community we serve. Thank you to the voters for their support. The 2 bond programs have improved schools across our district. Excellent work to everyone involved. We are excited to celebrate the opening of Blue STEM Middle in June and to highlight the significant impact of both bond programs throughout the summer. More school enhancements are on the agenda this evening. We are taking the next steps in our medical clinic and entry addition at Benson High School. While delivering important services to students in our community, the expansion will deepen partnerships through college and career academies and pathways. Benson High has earned national recognition for its work, which centers on health professions. Coincidentally, our bunnies will present to the board later this evening as well. They'll share updates on expanding access to high-quality program for our young people. We welcome you. College and career academies and pathways are part of the Omaha Public Schools Strategic Plan of Action. Environmental sustainability is too. Tonight, district staff and student leaders from Central High School will share our work to manage and conserve resources. I would also like to highlight several administrative appointments pending Board of Education approval tonight on the consent agenda. We have first Anthony Clark Sixmark, who is the new principal of Bryan High School, headed to Bear Country. We're excited about that. We'll begin in August. This summer, also Danielle Brandt will join Lewis and Clark Middle School as principal. Cheryl Prine will assume leadership at Pawnee Elementary School in August, and she is joined by Christian and Charlie, her children, and her husband. So thank you all for coming out tonight. And Mrs. Prine, please let your son play with his Rubik's Cube because he's been in school all day. After pending board approval, Lenora Isom joins District Operational Services this spring as Executive Director of Facilities. Previously, Ms. Isom worked with the Nebraska Public Service Commission. Congrats to all. We are one district community and united in preparing all students for success in college, career, and life. Finally, congratulations are in order for, and if he could please stand because he's in the audience, he's covering the meeting tonight for Bryan High, but Justin Deep of Bryan High School is here, and he was named the 2023 Nebraska Student Journalist of the Year by the Nebraska High School Press Association. Hashtag yay. So proud of you, Justin, for many reasons, and this being one of them. The state champion, Central High School girls powerlifting team, we're excited to have them in a future meeting and really want to know about how much they can lift. So we're very excited about having the Central High School girls powerlifting team. All 4 of Norris Middle School robotics teams for advancing to the Nebraska State VEX Robotics Championship quarterfinals. All Omaha Public Schools JROTC battalions that placed in the 22nd Annual Bellevue Invitational Drill Meet, and the many Omaha Public School students who qualified for the National Educators Rising competition. great things happening in OPS today and all year. So thank you so much. That concludes my remarks for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Logan. Colleagues, do we have any? Ms. Full?
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to go over a couple things that I did the last couple weeks because I wasn't at the last school board meeting. So I definitely wanted to say congratulations to Mr. Ray because I wasn't here in order to say that. So big congratulations to our new interim superintendent. I also met with OPS, or oh my gosh, the university, sorry. Some folks from the university are part of a group with redlining, trying to learn more about it and how it affects the North Omaha community today. And so I met with that group Monday, and it went really well. We had a great community conversation about redlining and how that affects OPS and kind of the history of OPS. And thank you so much for Ms. Erdenberger for joining me for that conversation and educating those community members about the huge wealth of information and history that OPS brings with it. So I really appreciate that. And I also met with a couple of community groups just to strengthen our relationships between OPS and the community, because I think there are, a lot of really great things going on in the community, and the more that we can jump on the bandwagon and try to partner with the community, the better. And we are approving the recruiting company today for the new superintendent, so that's very exciting. I just want to reiterate how important I think it is for this whole process to be collaborative and for us to all have a say, whether that's the folks on the school board, whether that's the community. We're all in this together, and we all just want the best for our school district. And so I just really want to push that, how important it is for us all to be collaborative. And that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Full. Mrs. Crackey?
I'm going to play on your word of push because I want to talk about how many weeks we do or do not have left of the school year. And I want to encourage parents, grandparents, teachers, because anyone who is taking care of our children, especially our elementary children, as far as they're learning their math facts, many things they do in math are contingent upon them learning those. And I would like them to know what they're supposed to know at the end of every grade level. And if we sent the flashcards home and we haven't been accountable to them yet, let's send them home again. And let me encourage the audience who are responsible for those children to make sure they know what they're supposed to know. They are going to be handicapped next year if they do not learn what they're supposed to learn. So we have enough weeks here to get going. So if you aren't doing it, do it. I would like to know how many achieve that by the end of the year. So I'd love to have you get back to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Juarez?
Thank you. I just wanted to take a couple minutes, although Dr. Logan has already said the congratulations for us, but the new principals who were announced for Brian, Mr. Clark Kasmerek, I hope I'm not mutilating these names, and for Cheryl Prine, I wanted to congratulate them on their appointments because that's my district. And for the opening of Blue STEM, my district. And I also wanted to mention that I did go to the ROTC spring ball that they had, and there was a presentation of the saber to the new brigade commander, Cadet Colonel Ayanna Woodman, and I wanted to congratulate her. That was my second time to attend the event, and I enjoyed it. And I did go and take a peek at the kids, and they were definitely dancing to the music, but I cut out at that point. But I did want to congratulate everyone on their the recognition that they received for all their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Erdenberger?
Thank you, President Head. I was just going to focus on, as Dr. Logan already highlighted, the the very great success we've had with our bond programs. And one of the questions I asked when I looked at the agenda earlier, because as Dr. Logan noted, we continue to pay for things out of those bond proceeds that were not originally identified. And in fact, due to whoever it is that's watching the money, I don't know if that's Dr. Logan and or Mr. Ryan or whoever, we had quite a few savings out of those bond proceeds. And as a result, we've been able to use the extra, so to speak, and this is what I've been told. We had new high school, the athletic packages, the fields and the seating at our new high schools, playgrounds at Highland, Pine, and Forest Station, some classroom refreshing at about 4 of our elementary schools, resurfacing a parking lot, an intercom system for Central High School, and some of the other programs that are identified in the agenda today. So thanks to the fantastic stewardship of the bond proceeds, we've been able to stretch them and include some other improvements. Just to follow up on what Ms. Full said, I very much enjoyed meeting with the community members at the One Omaha session a week ago tonight. And to prepare for it, a shout out to Mr. Ray and whoever it was he pressed into service to get some OPS history put together for me. Thank you very much, Mr. Ray. One of the things I was very interested in learning, well, 2 things. One is the very first teacher at OPS was somebody named Mrs. Purple. I just thought that was interesting. If you're ever in a Jeopardy session, Mrs. Purple was the first teacher at OPS. And second of all, it was in 1872 that OPS decided to no longer segregate its schools. Now, as a result of the redlining that we were researching and focusing on, some of the segregation-like effects were felt in our school system, certainly. But since 1872, OPS has been an integrated school system, and I think that that's something that we have to be proud of. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate real quick, congratulations to our 3 principals on your new assignments. CK, I know I already told you the other week, we're sad to see you leave Sub-District 5, but excited for the new opportunity. We know the 3 of you will all do well in your new assignments, so congratulations. With that, we will be moving on to public comment. So we have 3 speakers who have submitted a request to be heard for. The board has adopted policy 8346, which provides public comment for a period of 1 hour. That same policy limits individual speakers to a maximum of 5 minutes. We ask that you respect that time limit. Mr. Ray will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining and when you have 30 seconds remaining. If you are in need of an interpreter, please let Mr. Ray know and one will be provided for you. We understand that people have strong feelings about the issues they come to speak about, and we ask that you respect the opinions of all who speak and that you refrain from applause or outbursts during presentations. If the subject of your public comments is related to a particular student or staff member, we ask that you not identify the student or staff member and instead provide that information to Mr. Ray. He will assist us in looking into those types of specifics for you. If you do not get an opportunity to speak and would like to submit any written commentary, please provide it to Mr. Ray. He will make sure each member of the board gets a copy. As a reminder, with the passage of last year's LB 83 by the Nebraska Legislature, the Board of Education is legally obligated to require any member of the public desiring to address the board to identify himself or herself, including an address and the name of any organization you may represent, unless the requirement is waived for security reasons. And we have no one who has asked for a waiver tonight. So again, before you, when you come up, before you speak, please spell your first and last name, state your current address, and let us know if you're representing any particular organization. In addition, we ask that you remain seated until called to the podium. Please remain at the podium and do not approach the board table. If you have any materials to distribute, please let Mr. Ray know and he will come get them for you. It is now 6:29 p.m. and our first speaker is Michaela Kaiser.
Good evening. My name is Michaela Kaiser, MichaelaKazor, and my address is 11619 Grand Avenue, Omaha, Nebraska, 68164. Good evening. I want to thank Dr. Logan and the members of the board. I know that this is not an easy job, and I thank every person for their service to this generation. I do believe that many of you are here for the students' well-being, and I want to share a book that I found in the Central High School's library's catalog and how it pertains to the law that you may not be aware of. The book I am speaking about today, I've heard about in the past due to the images and content in the book, but it wasn't until I saw the images in the book for myself that I realized how sexually explicit this book truly is. I feel extremely uncomfortable reading this book to you, but I am doing so to protect others in my generation. Regardless of my Christian beliefs, this book directly violates the federal law, which states in the Citizen's Guide to the U.S. Federal Law on Obscenity, found on justice.gov. In addition, Section 1466A of Title 18, United States Code, makes it illegal for any person to knowingly produce, distribute, receive, or possess with intent to transfer or distribute visual representations, such as drawings, cartoons, or paintings, that appear to depict minors engaged in sexually explicit content and are deemed obscene. This statute offers an alternative two-pronged test for obscenity with a lower threshold than the Miller test. The matter involving minors can be deemed obscene if one depicts an image that is or appears to be a minor engaged in graphic bestiality, sadistic or masochistic abuse, or sexual intercourse, and two, if the image lacks serious literacy, artistic, political, or scientific value. A first-time offender convicted under the statute faces fines and at least 5 years to a maximum of 20 years in prison. After looking at the images in this book, it is clear that this book has cartoon images of minors, not adults, engaged in sexual activity and other pornographic material. This book is called Genderqueer, and this is what this book says. The first image describes a woman's menstrual cycles. And I am having to water it down because there are children in the audience, so I'm having to use PG wording for what otherwise goes way off and uses really graphic, disgusting wording to describe this. So hiding my period became extremely important to me. For 2 entire school years, I successfully avoided ever using a school bathroom. I'd often wear the same pad for so long that the dried blood turned to dark crumbles, resembling coffee grounds. To this day, a huge number of my nightmares involve menstrual blood. And then it goes on and it shows images of this, and it makes me want to throw up looking at it. And then the second image describes, or the next 2 images in this book, describes removals of women's parts because the person is transgender. And the book says, in 7th grade, my mom bought me my first bra. I liked that it flattered the woman parts into non-existence, but I hated that I needed it at all. I started daydreaming about getting breast cancer, thinking it would give me the perfect excuse to have my breasts removed. And then the other one says, if I could have removed the woman's part out of my body after that experience, I would have. I promised myself that I would never do an inappropriate thing again. The next image describes pornography. In fact, and the book says, in fact, I'm shocked when my friend says, I'm not really into slasher gay comics. And the person says, what, really? I thought
1 minute.
I thought a certain type of porn was universal. And then it goes on to describe it and show images. And then there's also images about masturbation, and there are images about devices that are used when men and women come together. And then there are images that show 2 men coming together for sexual intercourse. This book is clearly against the federal law, and you are breaking the law by
30
allowing
seconds.
this book in the school libraries. Just because this book is geared towards queer students, and this is the reason it has stayed in schools, this is against the law. And I encourage you to please look into this and remove this from the school libraries because you are breaking the law if you keep it there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Kaiser. The next speaker is Larry Storr.
Good evening. Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. As usual, I'll be talking about the Constitution, but the federal and the state Constitution. And I'm usually a little gruff, but I'd like to ask, what part of the constitutions do you not get? First of all, the Open Meetings Act, I don't think I heard you refer to it. You are to refer to it, you're to point to it, and you're to have a current copy of it, not an outdated copy from the National Association of School Boards that do not represent me or the rest of the citizens. I don't intend to spend my money suing you. You're supposed to know the law. In fact, you have legislative actions here on the agenda tonight. Now, I don't recall that of all meetings, public meetings, this should be the model for the citizens and the young people that do attend. But you don't even have a set of printed rules so that they can understand it. And you, sir, are a little hard to understand, and you took almost 5 minutes to read your rule of citizen comments. Getting around the citizens being able to say what they'd like to say at a school board meeting is not necessarily constitutional. In the Open Meetings Act, it says we can have the right to speak on each and every item. Yes, you have lawyers that tell you how to get around that with consent agendas and things, but that's the intent of the Open Meetings Act per the former Attorney General, in his words. It also says that in the first sentence or two of the law. So the rules are not reasonable because, first of all, we don't really know them. It's hard to get onto the website and find them. There's no printed copies here. So I'm not clear whether I can speak on the item section J for discussion and action program or not. I kind of think that I'm not allowed to. Is that correct? If I'm not, then since it's on the agenda, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Your legislative action, printed out for tonight, works against us. You should be getting input on these bills from the citizens, not from lawyers or national associations. You are in fact working against the citizens of this district when you oppose or approve or go down and speak about legislative bills. You should be getting input from us. We pay the taxes, we pay your salary, we pay the rent and utilities for this building. So there's not really proper representation at this body tonight, as usual. And I think that needs to get changed, and you can take the opportunity to make this a model under the Open Meetings Act of citizens being able to petition their government and have a part in it, not having to sit and listen to your recommendations from national associations of school boards or whatever. And the nonprofits around the country that have best practices, we hear all the time. The best practices are the practices that work for the citizens of this district, not somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Storr. And our final speaker tonight is Tiffany Carter.
Hello. I actually have something to give to you guys, so who do I... My name is Tiffany Carter, Tiffanycarter. I live at 18521 Summit Drive, Omaha, Nebraska. I was also looking at the legislative bills with your recommendations to support and oppose. I am noticing that there are some missing, so I wanted to really quick say those. There's LB 374, Adopt the Parents' Bill of Rights and Academic Transparency Act. LB 7.1, change provisions relating to parental involvement in and access to learning materials in schools. LB 635, provide requirements regarding access to digital and online resources provided for students by school districts, schools, and the Nebraska Library Commission. And then the one that I noticed here that you're opposing is LB 441, which is the change in provisions relating to obscenity. So that's actually what I wanted to talk about today. I gave you a card. It's got a QR code on the front. I challenge you while you're watching me, if you would like to scan that. It's going to show a map, a Google My Map that I've created. I've done research for a year and a half now about the book content in schools. So if you were to scan that QR code, you're going to see a map of all the OPS schools and a list of books, in the libraries in which I found to be obscene. They are rated 1 through 5, 1 being an equivalent to rated G, and 5 being an equivalent to worse than NC 17, which obviously is not appropriate for minors. So if you would look at that, I would really appreciate it, because this list is actually on the Google Maps, unfortunately can only hold 50 book titles, and I have researched over 200, about 264 on my current list, and I'm still researching. So I do recommend that you look at that, because there is material in these schools that are inappropriate. I also want to point out that if people are going to try to use the argument about the First Amendment, obscenity and child pornography is not protected under the First Amendment, so I really hope that you understand that and know that as well. On the back of that card, I just wanted to read it really quick. Both of these quotes are from the American College of Pediatricians. Because of its harmfulness to children, pornography must never be used as a tool to teach children human sexuality. Here's the reality about LB 441. It removes the exemption to use education as a guise to have this material in the schools. If I were to show some of the books that I've read, or even what we heard today about genderqueer, to a child on the street, I could be fined and I can go to jail. And yet, under the guise of education, it is okay to have this material in the schools. So I'm a little disappointed to see that you're opposing LB 441. I'm not sure if you don't fully understand what it is, but I can tell you that there is material that are harmful to your children, and I do suggest that you remove those. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. So at this point, any board member may request that an item on the consent agenda be removed from the consent agenda and be considered on and voted separately. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda that's before us.
So moved.
A motion by Dr. Holman, second by Ms. Full. Do we have any abstentions? Ms. Cassidy?
Yes, I will once again be abstaining from item I-9, Claim C, for my role with the OPS Foundation. Thank you.
And Dr. Holman?
I also will be abstaining from Claim C, item I-9, due to my role with the Council of Great City Schools.
All right, thank you. Any further abstentions? Seeing none, Mr. Ray, please call the roll.
Juarez.
Aye.
Cracky.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Thielen.
Point of order, did we have a motion for the consent agenda? Did I miss it?
Yes.
Sorry, my apologies. Aye.
Cassidy.
Aye.
Erdenberger. Full.
Aye.
Head.
Aye.
Holman.
Aye.
9 aye.
All right, thank you. Moving on, we have information items. Item J1A, College and Career Academies and Pathways update from Benson High School with Mrs. Susan Christofferson.
Good evening. Happy and joyful in their green. Good evening, President Head, Vice President Smith, Superintendent Dr. Logan, Board of Education, and our community. Tonight we have the opportunity for Benson High School to share an update on the quality of work and experiences supporting our college and career academies and pathways. It is with great pleasure to introduce to you Miss Melinda Bailey, Principal of Benson High School, who will begin the presentation and introduce the rest of the Benson team as they present to you. Ms. Bailey.
Good evening, Board President Head, Vice President Smith, Superintendent Dr. Logan, and members of the school board and the community. My name is Melinda Bailey, proud principal at Benson High School. And on behalf of our students and families tonight, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to present to you what we're doing at Benson High School for all students regarding experiential learning. So with that, I would like to introduce to you Angela Johannick. She's our College and Career Academy Specialist, and she's going to provide you with some details along with some of our students. Thank you.
Make sure that I click this correctly here. All right. All right, thank you, Ms. Bailey. Good evening, board members and community. At Benson High, we've been working to kind of fine-tune our academies and their opportunities over the past 7 years. Can't believe it's been that long. And just kind of for a little bit of point of reference, I wanted to offer just a few points on who we are. We are the first wall-to-wall high school in the state of Nebraska and also home to the first fully implemented freshman academy. We currently offer 2 National Career Academy Coalition model status academies and are currently working on a 3rd this week, so big day. In building, we focus on 3 fields of expertise in high wage, high skill, and high demand career fields. And this focus is supported and made relevant through the engagement of our 4 professional academy advisory boards who are committed to student education, engagement, and experience. And finally, as we continue to grow and adapt to our student and community needs, we are now 5 months away from a groundbreaking school-based health center project. At this time, I would also like to offer a reminder of the programs of study that we do provide to all of our students. All students begin as members of the nationally recognized Freshman Academy as 9th graders. They then have the option to move into one of the 3 10th through 12th grade academies, Business and Entrepreneurship, which focuses on pathways in business administration, entrepreneurship, and culinary and event planning. Our Design and Construction Academy provides pathways in computer graphic design, architectural design engineering, and construction management and processes. The 3rd and also nationally recognized academy is our Health Professions Academy, which focuses on 3 pathways in human performance, medical and therapeutic services, and teaching as a profession. Looking ahead, we are also excited to become a member of the Cambridge Academics Program beginning in the fall of 2023. As a guide, and this is too small, so don't even look up there. As a guide, we do like to use the Omaha Public Schools College and Career Continuum as a grade level template for college and career readiness in building. With our academies and programs, these experiences are then embedded within our classes and curriculum so that all students have the opportunity to participate in activities no matter what academy or program they are a part of. For tonight's purposes, we will provide examples of how Benson embeds these experiences into different pathways and programs through the eyes of the students who participate so that they can speak to how it's impacted their time in high school. Let us begin. 9th grade, the most important year within the high school year, if you're a 9th grader. Freshman year is all about the exploration, and here students are provided district-supported curriculum in their core freshman seminar class that focuses on things like how to be successful in high school, how to stay on track and understand your academics, recognition of your own strengths and challenges, and how to become a contributing member of a community. Students also work on college and career interest. They research and make plans, which culminate into projects and presentations where they create an actual plan of action. It is during this 9th grade year that students also have the chance to tour, to audit, and to speak to their own upperclassmen about each academy and program that is offered at Benson or in any school. This leads to their choice and registration for an academy that meets the most of their needs and interests. During 10th grade, all academics focus on opportunities for students to dig a little bit deeper into the career fields and educational knowledge needed to build skills. The goal is to connect students in multiple ways to expand their college access and career education. Each academy is supported by a professional advisory board, which works to provide many of these experiences, like on-site and tailored college and job visits, mentoring, lunch and learns, and student competitions through Skills USA, HOSA, FBLA, and DECA. To discuss the impact of these initial connections, I'd like to introduce Benson Senior, Health A2.
Good evening. My name is Health A2. I was able to join the Health Academy as a freshman and was able to use this first year to get to really know what I want to do as a career. I was able to take Foundations of Healthcare class, which helped me learn more about the health field by attending Lunch and Learns. Lunch and Learns are where health professionals come to class over our lunch hour and talk to us about their career, how they got there, and answer any questions we have about what they do. Being around other students who are interested in the same career really allowed me to feel comfortable asking questions and learning about a ton of professions. Being able to meet and talk to someone that works in the health field through the Lunch and Learns made me more motivated to pursue a career in the health field. Because of my early start in the academy and the experiences I have had, I was able to take advantage of a lot of opportunities, which led me to earn a full academic scholarship ride to UNL, where I will study biochemistry.
Definitely, totally earned it. Awesome, thank you, Heltha. The 11th grade year, so as we're kind of moving on, the 11th grade year focuses on experiential learning, putting students in spaces where they can use their foundational skills and knowledge in hands-on and memorable ways while continuing to build their academic knowledge. Some experiences are a single event where students are in charge of planning, organizing, and executing all parts of a professional occasion, like our Teaching as a Profession students who lead Benson Family Engagement Nights, or the culinary internships in the Benson Business District through Burgers with Bunnies. Too many B's in there, everybody. Other times, students may work on a single project with career professionals through mentoring and classroom assignments, which end in competition and/or senior capstones, like our architectural engineering students and their ACE mentors, the relationship between the health professions and their participation in co-hosting the UNMC Bridge to Care annual refugee health fair. Another option for our students is to participate in career field classes that offer professional certifications and on-the-job training, like our Methodist College Certified Nursing Assistant Certification, UNMC Pharmacy Technician Certification, and our Business Entrepreneurship courses, which allows students to own and operate the Benson School Store. Every academy and every pathway within offers every student multiple ways to grow their depth of knowledge, earn dual credit and certification, while also networking over time with professionals. To speak about the impact of these professional experiences, I would like to introduce Junior November Paw.
Hi, my name is November Paw. I am a junior in the Health Academy at Benson. The Health Academy has given me many opportunities to explore health profession, including classes like anatomy and physiology, medical biology, taking and state certifying as a nursing assistant, and being part of the High School Alliance. This year, I got to be a part of and give feedback to a new event, the UNMC Reach Career Summit. It was an experience where the Freshman Academy got to explore 8 different health professions with a presentation and hands-on experience. I was a group leader, and while helping, I absorbed many details of the experiences and information given from each profession. It helped me expand my knowledge of my career outlook, nursing. I genuinely enjoy being able to speak to a professional nurse and gain insight into the profession. Talking to her helped me recognize that the field of nursing is very versatile and challenging, but it's well worth it as a rewarding career. I am already a CNA through the Benson CNA class, which makes me feel as though I'm already at the start of my nursing career. Experiences like the Reach Career Summit, enabling me to speak to nurses in my future career field, have definitely sailed the boat for me to pursue my career goal all the way. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, November. Which brings us to the senior year. We said the freshman year is just as important as is senior year. Senior year is the culmination of all. It is the foundational exploration to the extended education, from professional experiences and now full-on engagement. Ultimately, we want to prepare students in a multitude of ways to go out into the world with an interest and a plan for post-high school graduation. This is about being on the job, networking for next steps, and finding your place in your community. To talk about this type of experience, I would like to introduce a current junior, Mason, whose academic success will allow him to actually participate in 2 years of the internship engagement with Habitat for Humanity. Come on up, Mason.
Hi, my name is Mason Jarecki, and I am a part of the design and construction pathway here at Benson, and I really love it. Everything about it is just amazing. I truly believe that our teachers and everything in this program are just everything that we need to push us on. We have a great construction teacher, Thomas Sibbett, here, and he honestly has pushed me ever since I started. I started early my freshman year, and it starts with like a 1-2 class where we build our skills up, hands-on learning the whole time. I love everything about it, and it has to do with like as we learn more about hands-on learning, we build on the next year. And then finally, this third year is where we go off-site with Habitat for Humanity, and they've been so kind to us. They've been there supporting us every time that we come out there, and they show us new skills every day. I learn something new like almost every day. Like, we all are out there putting walls up and everything. I just honestly love the hands-on rather than you get both in the classroom and hands-on. It's just a great mixture of everything. And let's see. I really love how just everything is taken like so seriously, but at the same time we're all able to have so much fun with everything that we do. And just like whenever we're rained out, we're also working with some of the like architecture students, and we do like CAD and work with some of the other things that we don't normally get to do. So no matter what day it is, we get a whole variety of everything, and we just get to pack our day in, and it's just great. I love the experience, and I would really love to see this program continue on. I don't know, because just I love how Habitat really makes you feel like this is what I want to do in the future. It gives you that opportunity to see on-the-job experience and people to show you what it's really like to get in that career field. And just, I'd really love to see it continue on the years out and just keep it going as strong as it's been. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Mason. All right, at Benson, we also know that we must keep in mind that the future needs of our students and our community. We will continue to push our educational standards through the implementation of Cambridge University curriculum during the 23-24 school year, and also look forward to the community-changing school-based health center set to break ground this summer. We see this addition not as just a physical change, but also as an opportunity to explore student connections for our programs in ways like architectural planning and input, construction building and internships, computer graphic design layout and environment, business accounting and financing, health internships and clinic assistance, community space for family engagement. And we hope that this is just the beginning. We'd like to thank you for your time and attention this evening and are open to any community questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Colleagues, any questions? Mrs. Erdenberger?
Thank you, Mr. Head, and I'm so excited it's working out well for you, and I know how hard you have worked at this, and it's paying off. One of my questions was that you already existed as a wall-to-wall academy before the rest of the district caught up with that great idea. What kind of changes did you end up having to make, either because it's now district-wide or as the interests of your students evolve? What kind of changes have you seen that you've made over the last couple of years to your programs?
That is a great question. I think the time and energy put in kind of talking to the community and looking at demographics, looking at opportunities, and really laying out the larger programs, so the actual academies, helped us kind of figure out what then the niche was within each academy. So construction has always been a stronghold. But recognizing that we had a very artistic community and we had a ton of input and interest in things like graphic design, really keeping that program and figuring out how do you turn that into something that is high wage, high demand, high skill. Looking at health professions, you can't help but say UNMC, Children's Hospital, CHI, Emmanuel. There are so many people that are right there within walking distance, and we also know that just where we're located, there is not enough access and or knowledge about health. So we knew that that was something that we could play into and use to our advantage as far as like student opportunities and just community success. In business, we are North Omaha. They are entrepreneurs in every way, shape, and form. So I think that also just kind of built into all of the, 7 years ago, I didn't see all the success of what is happening in North Omaha coming in either, and I feel like those two things coming together will also allow us to expand our business and entrepreneurship programs, because we're seeing it happen within the neighborhoods too. So we feel it out, but I feel like every time that the community makes a move, then we follow the community.
Thank you. I have a couple more questions,
Sure,
actually.
that's fine,
One is, one of the things we've enjoyed, I think, every time there's a presentation is finding out what the freshman academies are called.
Oh, yes.
So what are the names of your freshman academies?
We are a single unit. We are only one freshman academy.
Okay.
That is the way that
The
we
bunnies,
began.
the
Yes.
proud bunnies,
That's
the
the way that we
fighting
started.
bunnies,
That's the one thing. Yeah. The Mighty Bunnies.
The Mighty
Yeah.
Bunnies, okay, thank you very much. I did have one other question, and that is, and I think this is what you alluded to, but looking at the list of your academies and the underlying pathways, every single one of them it would appear, can participate in the building of the new health center. And I know that, I would, as you know, as your principal knows, at North High, that was something our students did a lot in the engineering program, was work with hands-on real projects. Did you just say, and can you restate, that there's going to be a lot of student involvement in the building and the reviewing and whatever of this health center?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the core beliefs that we had even going into the project, was remembering and kind of reminding everyone that this is about the community, and that includes the current students who are in the space, because it is an opportunity for them to grow in their own knowledge. Again, if we're talking about students who are coming back into their own area and providing all of the opportunity for their family, I mean, Melinda Bailey, bless her for being at North during that time, who also knew that it was extremely important for those students to participate. And then it is imagining in all the ways, and again, I hope that this is a limited list in how those students will participate, because maybe it's just the first year of the building, but we see this as something where all of the entities that are in that community-based health center should tie directly into the students, and that those two things should feel like a cohesive unit. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Thank you. I'm looking at Jeremy. I love the way she answered that first question. So we please need to capture that and put that on the website about just North Omaha growing the entrepreneurship. That was elegant. I love that. So please capture that.
The truth is easy.
My question is, with the design and construction, is there a mesh to the entrepreneurship component, so we have our construction kids learning how to start and own their own businesses?
That's a great question. So I think let's put that as in one of the fine tuning. As we look at kind of our growth over the past few years, we've noticed that there is a lot of ways in which students can actually combine to do two pathways. So if I'm choosing an academy and I'm choosing a pathway, which is my love and my passion, obviously there are other skills that I'm going to need to have. So I think there's two ways to look at it. One is academically on track. The student has more opportunities to take some of these outside courses, right, outside of their pathway. That might be a business and finance or an administration or an entrepreneurship class. I also think it's looking at the boards of professionals and maybe the job sites or the internships or the mentoring activities to say, I'm a small business owner, you also want to have your own landscaping company, maybe there's an opportunity for those two people to meet. So I think it's also kind of just reimagining that maybe it doesn't have to be just in a class, but it can be a connection between people, or at a group event where they're like, don't forget, you're going to need to take a class in administration, you're going to need to take a class in finance if you're going to have your own construction company, for example.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Ms. Full?
Yeah, it's not really a question. It's
That's
just
okay.
more of comments. I just love how strong the construction and design program sounds at Benson, because we're actually experiencing a shortage of those kind of workers in Nebraska for construction workers, electricians, plumbers, and especially in our rural areas. So for my full-time job, I work on affordable housing development. And in rural areas, they're just having the toughest time finding construction workers for people to build homes so they can have safe and healthy places to live in. So it really makes me so happy that the construction and design program is going so well, and that you're partnering with Habitat for Humanity. I actually have a colleague that works there that just touts this program working with OPS, and she's just like loves the partnership. So very, very good job on that end. And also with HOSA, I love that HOSA is at Benson. I just want to take a minute to plug public health as well. That's an option for health professionals. That's what I got my degree in when I went to college. So I think it was November who said you're going to be a nurse. So, there are such things as public health nurses. So just a little nudge. But anyways, thank you so much for coming. This was great.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Colleagues, do we have any? Ms. Cracky?
If nothing else, your enthusiasm is going to be a winner in making it work. I am sure of that. And you do have some prominent alum in the city of Omaha, and I do hope that you make the effort to invite some of those people in to see you. Have you been able to do that?
So we actually have our Benson Foundation, which is a very made up of a lot of the people that you speak of.
Yeah.
We also have within each of our boards, we always have an alumni, what's the right word, like an alumni presentation. Yeah, there's a person who represents each.
Because I'm certain that they would want to know what you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So be sure you do that, because I think you'll get a lot of support from them.
Yeah, hopefully they see this and they jump on board.
Ms. Juarez?
Hi, thank you for coming. I
Yeah.
just have a real quick question. Could you just tell me briefly about this Burgers with Bunnies? Is that an event or what is it?
Yep, so it was an event, and this is again kind of one of the things that we are learning to do. We have students who are in the culinary and event planning, and so again, that program expands from just learning how to cook into actually putting together menus and looking at finances and being able to stay on a budget. So they worked with the Benson Business District to actually put together an event where they hosted burgers. So they were cooking in the back, and they were making the fries, and they were hosting and doing all the tables and collecting the menus and learning again how to actually run a full-on event. So if I wanted a food truck, if I want to work front of the house or back of the house, if I want to be on a cruise ship in the middle of a beautiful ocean, they know what they're actually getting into and can decide whether or not that's something that they're interested in.
Well, I just wanted to say that personally, I don't like to cook, but I like to eat.
Yes,
So if
same.
you could let us know when you're having the burger event
thought
so
the
I can
same thing.
attend, I
There you
would
go.
appreciate it.
To do better social media. I will do that, yes. The more the merrier.
I agree.
Oh, there we go.
I always like it when the faculty and the culinary groups invite the board over the years to come and see what they're doing. It goes a long way.
Yes, it was our first one, so we'll put that in, we'll definitely do that next year.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
No, thank you for being here, and I always appreciate, listening to the different high schools as you come and present these to us and share how you've, kind of taken your academies and pathways and made them your own and made it unique to your school. And thank you for bringing students with you to share their experiences as well. And it's actually kind of fitting that Mason, you had mentioned construction and design, because the last couple weeks I've been meeting with representatives from several of the area labor unions, talking specifically about they want to know how they can work with us as a school district to better support our work specifically in the skilled trades. To Ms. Full's point, understanding that there's a giant skyscraper downtown that's slated to be built, but there's not enough people to build it. And so that's something that I'm passionate about. I know Ms. Christofferson, thank you for joining us this morning and filling in some of the gaps that I couldn't necessarily provide with them.
I think
But
that's essential for apprenticeships, so
yes,
to speaking to the unions,
absolutely.
apprenticeships is key to a lot of that, yeah.
Absolutely. But no, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for sharing this with us. And
Thanks for having
we
us.
appreciate it.
Definitely.
I've got a couple of OPS Proud pins left. If you'd like to come around, give us a handshake, fist bump, and we can take a quick picture. So.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. I like you. Thank you. You were good. Thank you.
I know, but it sounded so good.
I could have done that too.
Okay, everybody look this way. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're gonna take one more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, you guys. Jonas tomorrow, I promise.
Can I come? right, moving on, next up, we have item J1B, the update of the creation of the District Environmental Sustainability Plan is outlined in the Strategic Plan of Action, Strategic Priority 4, Ethic of Care. The speaker is Charles Wakefield.
Good evening, President Head, Vice President Smith, Dr. Logan, and board members. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on the work underway to develop an environmental sustainability plan. While I am a speaker, I do have a couple of individuals from the district who are helping me tonight, Mr. Dave Fannin and Ms. Ayanna Boykins, who will be speaking as well. I also would be remiss if I don't introduce the team here supporting us from Virtus. We have Kate and Craig, who I think you have met before from Virtus, who have been supporting us. We have Jeremiah and Joey as well back there supporting us. And to be the most honest with you, I didn't give last names because I'm not sure I know Jeremiah and Joey's last name off the top of my head. So I will have to write that down next time I talk to them. So the work of environmental stewardship is part of our strategic plan of action. It's under priority 4, ethic of care, as you see on the screen. This work is about creating the processes, the procedures, putting the systems in place that impact our environment not only now, but into the future. Ultimately, our goal is creating a better environment as we move forward, making our buildings better, making our grounds better, and making environmental stewardship better for the district and better for our students 10, 15, 20, and 30 years from now. Much of the work you will see today is future focused, and that isn't intentional because this is not easy work. This is hard work that takes time. And if we want to do it well, and if we truly want to make an impact, we have to dedicate ourselves to doing that hard work and taking that time. So as we look at environmental stewardship, it's really about taking care of our planet and creating a healthy future for this generation and the next. For schools, it's about 3 key areas aligned with the Department of Education's Green Ribbon Schools. First of all, environmental stewardship means reducing the environmental impact, addressing things such as waste, which you'll hear about today, water usage, energy and greenhouse emissions, in facilities and schools and operations in every component that we work and do business in every day. Second, it's about improving health and wellness for our students and for our staff. So we're going to be talking about things like air quality. We're going to be talking about comfort, school nutrition, and a variety of things that impact an individual's health in each and every day. And the third component is education, which is our primary focus. Connecting environmental issues to curriculum, to career opportunities, and just general engagement so students come away from this better educated about the impact they have on the environment. During interviews with key leaders, Virtus interviewed all of our key leaders at the outset of the planning process, and they asked our leaders what they saw environmental stewardship connecting to the district's mission for all students. Interviewers responded that preparing students to succeed included preparing them for changes in the environment and challenges of the future that come with climate change, both in terms of life and in terms of jobs. And the district itself will also face these challenges. Environmental stewardship is about preparing ourselves for the future. And teaching students to be good stewards of the environment instills that sense of responsibility. We did work a lot with students, and we have a lot of students across the district doing great work in environmental stewardship. In fact, they're often leading the way for us. We have a great environmental science students at Northwest, green team members at Burke and South, students at Blackburn who participate in UNO Learning Service Academy and projects on composting and waste reductions. And tonight we have a student from Central High School who's going to talk to us a little bit about how Central is also leading the way. So I'm going to let Holden come up and share a few of the things that Central is doing today to support green environment. Holden?
Hello, and thank you to the board for having us today. I'm Holden Forshea, and I'm representing several Central High students who are involved with Central's Green Team and Dr. Logan's Advisory Council, which we've also been involved in the process of continuing and or starting green efforts across the district. Me and my peers, Evelina Sain and Chloe Johnson, as well as several OPS employees and staff, met with Duchenne's administration to discuss their sustainable efforts, addressing the issues they have had, as well as scaling issues that a sustainability program at a district as large as OPS may provoke. We as a group have consistently held meetings with Virtus Group and OPS officials concerning the student perspective on composting and sustainability in schools. We also have overlap with Students for Sustainability, a group which pushes for sustainability in schools led by students across Omaha schools. The students involved have brainstormed ideas and brought together students who are interested in starting and sustaining a green team. Sustainable efforts have already begun in the district, but Central hopes to be a pilot program that will demonstrate to the board, the local community, and schools from wider areas that fostering sustainability programs will be beneficial to their schools and the environment. As the UN releases increasingly bleak statements about the encroaching deadline to prevent warming past 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm glad to be a student in a district that's working to develop a plan which can help prevent this. We thank you for your time and hope that Omaha Public Schools will continue to push forward to protect our planet and our students through sustainability. Thank you.
I accidentally hit that. Environmental stewardship is about empowering students. You saw that a few minutes ago with Holden himself. Empowering our students to do the right work, but it's also about creating district-wide efforts. And district-wide efforts require a long-term plan. Again, we have to do the hard work. We have to do the work now that makes an impact in 10 or 15 years. So not only are we empowering our students to react now, but also developing that plan as we go forward. In order to create this plan, it called for a strategic planning process. And we went through a collaborative planning process beginning in the fall of 2021. This work was led by our partners at Virtus, intentionally by a third party, so we would get honest answers as we worked with them. As mentioned, we held interviews with leaders, we ran online surveys, we did research on peers, and we brought in ongoing data analysis that the district has done for many years. We ultimately formed an environmental stewardship task force made up of representatives from all different areas of the district, including students, teachers, principals, and staff, both at the district level and the school level. The task force participated in 2 workshops to create vision for the plan and set goals. We also formed a focus team to develop strategies for each of the focus areas that came out of the task force visioning exercise. Those groups brainstormed and prioritized strategies, and then there was a long period of strategy refinement, which fed the creation to set a higher level objectives that you will see tonight, as we call them targets. We also made sure to engage with students throughout the process. We needed their energy and we needed their ideas to be successful. With this process in mind, we want to dive into some of those key pieces of the draft plan tonight. We want to share some of the targets with you and some of the strategies that we're recommending going forward. There are several different components of the plan, and we worked with the task force to set 5 quantitative goals around 5 metrics with 5 different topic areas. We will highlight each of these as we go through tonight. Then within each topic area, we develop targets, and these high-level bullets have specific sub-targets with each. Again, sharing with you the vision for 10 and 15 years out. Mr. Dave Fannin is going to talk about our first strategy today, dealing with the area of waste.
Good evening. Yes, like Mr. Wakefield said, the first area is waste. The goal for this area is to achieve a 50% diversion rate by 2030. Diversion rate meaning the amount of material that is not sent to the landfill. We believe this can be achieved through reduction, recycling, and composting. Currently, the district has a 22% diversion rate. So yes, we have a little ways to go. But with waste being one of the areas of highest interest for students and staff, the task force believes we can achieve this. There are 4 target areas. 1, with reducing landfill waste volume. There's a couple key things. Number 1, ensuring that all schools are doing tray stacking, because stacking trays versus randomly throwing them in a bin saves a lot of volume, significantly impacts the volume. And number 2, working to secure outside dumpsters to avoid community contribution like large items like tires, mattresses, things like that. Second key target is improving the recycling system and education. This is about ensuring a basic level of recycling bins, containers, signage, and process, and also providing the right level of education on what can and cannot be recycled. Thirdly, improving the waste data tracking record. This would be conducting dumpster assessment surveys to ensure that dumpsters are full at the time of pickup, and if not, looking to adjust their pickup schedule. Lastly, many schools have participated in composting on and off over the years, and the goal is to make this easier to participate and have a better system for the district. Thank you.
And Dave is being polite, not sharing that we pick up trash dumpsters over 480 times a month across our school district. And again, we are charged by volume, not week. Oh, wow, I should be more upset now. 480 times a week. I should also listen to Dave more, I guess. across the district. Again, we're picking up by volume how full that container is. So waste diversion is a large topic for us across the district. And as Mr. Fannin shared, it is one of the topics our students are most interested in. Composting, recycling, diverting that waste is very important. But that is just one of our target areas. The next one is in materials and procurement, purchasing. Looking at things in a broader category of materials about how we reduce waste and how we reduce energy usage through purchasing. Do we look at items like reducing the amount of packaging and working with that? Do we look at how we have items delivered to schools so we don't have 7 delivery trucks going to a school from 3 different companies to drop items when we could get by with 1 or 2? So looking at how we buy things. One of the most important partners in this area is nutrition services. Nutrition services for OPS has long been a leader in environmental stewardship, doing many things from encouraging tray stacking, which we continue to hear, from looking at different tray types to reduce the amount of styrofoam in landfills, to looking at compostable trays, if I can say that word. Looking at to reduce food wastage as we go through good menu planning, among other things. But as we look at materials and procurement, how do we as a district set goals and priorities? How do we explore policies to look at how we can reduce environmental impact through what we buy, and how we react with that? Next target is with greenhouse gas emissions, and that graph there is a little difficult to read. In the full report, it will look much easier to read, though it may not make much more sense to some of us, but we will try to help you with that. This is about of gas emissions and that we are putting into the environment based on the things we do, from school buses to district fleet to lawnmowers and edgers and a variety of equipment, and reducing that by 50% by the year 2040. This is approached through a variety of different ways, from things as simple as encouraging and incentivizing active modes of transportation, from the streetcar to the bus to the bike to get to school to reduce emissions, from increasing alternative fuels in our own district fleet. We are exploring the use of electric vehicles. We're exploring the use of propane vehicles, different things we can do to reduce those emissions. And then increasing the efficiency of our routing. Again, as we look at purchasing things and not having 7 trucks show up to our schools, the district doesn't need to have 7 trucks of their own showing up to our schools. Thinking about how we efficiently route items to schools to impact the gas emissions the least. And finally, considering producing our own clean energy on site. Do we explore solar panels at our buildings or wind turbines or whatever other alternative energy is available to us to begin to use at different sources? The next area is buildings and grounds, and Energy Star rating is something that many of us are familiar with. We often see that when we buy a refrigerator or stove on the side of the refrigerator or stove, and we're told it's better if it has a higher Energy Star rating. And honestly, it is, because it uses less energy. So taking our schools, because we're able to rate each and every one of our schools by their Energy Star rating, and moving to a goal of a 70 rating versus the 63.4 we have currently. So this is looking at getting more efficient systems. 2018 bond is something we heard about tonight, and using opportunities like that to get more efficient, high efficiency boilers, looking at LED lights and different things that impact energy, that reduce our energy, make the Energy Star rating go up. This is looking at a variety of things along those lines that impact that. This goal also addresses water usage, reducing our water usage from 11.1 gallons per square foot to 9.5 gallons per square foot. And that is about landscaping and sustainable landscaping, planting the right grasses and trees to better support our buildings so that they're shaded in the summer and we don't have to heat and cool them as much, and that we don't have to water them every day. In fact, we are looking at piloting a different type of grass at 3 elementary schools this summer to see if we can use a grass different than fescue that is more drought resistant and requires less water and less mowing. Both impact our environmental sustainability. Reducing energy and water consumption in buildings and grounds by looking at those sustainable plants, but also by increasing the number of LED lights we have across the building that use less energy. Looking at our systems within our buildings, so we're using high efficiency boilers or maintaining and doing predictive maintenance so our systems run at optimal efficiency. And improving environmental quality to promote health and well-being, managing and monitoring our air quality so that we recognize issues before they become issues as we move forward. The last big area, the last of our 5 targets, is within engagement and curriculum, because ultimately our goal is educating our children. Ultimately, we are teachers, every single one of us. And we can be as energy efficient as we want to be, but we truly have not made a long-term impact unless we educate those we work with each and every day to do the same as they grow older. And with that, we'll have Ms. Boykin speak to us about that.
So the final target area focuses on engagement and curriculum. So as you've learned throughout the process, we've engaged with various divisions and stakeholders to develop a draft plan. Over the past year, we worked with a core group, including teaching and learning consultants, teachers, and students, to develop strategies to educate and inform students and staff about environmental stewardship efforts and expand ways in which this work is integrated into instruction and curricular activities. Generating awareness, increasing knowledge, and changing behavior both individually and as a district is the basis for this target, and it will be measured through a baseline survey. Currently, this goal is intentionally ambiguous as not all stakeholders have had the opportunity to be surveyed. Overall, we're renewing our commitment to carry out our sustainable practices and therefore reestablishing an intentional connectedness with the way in which we do our work and how we care for our learning environments.
Thank you, Iona. And to me, this is the most important goal. This is the foundation of everything we do, is education. So creating this environmental education that impacts the future. And ultimately, the environmental plan that we will be presenting to the board in a future time is about a long-term plan doing the hard work so we reduce our environmental impact and so that we get a better return on investment, so that we're spending less money and less energy doing the things that we need to do each and every day. And with that, we will open it up for questions, hopefully for the experts behind me and not for me, but we'll see.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the board? Mr. Thielen?
Well, my question's for you, sorry. We're in the middle of a facility study. How are we connecting this work with that?
That is an excellent question. Virtus Group met multiple times with BCDM, the group doing our facilities assessment, looking at space utilization, looking at systems, and life cycle, lifespan of those systems. We know high efficiency boilers are much better, much less of an energy hog, I'll use that phrase, than our boilers that we bought back in the 1950s. So working with BCDM to see where we're at with that and what that impact would look like.
So I'm just anticipating as we kind of bring these two things together, we'll be able to look at a true long-term plan that's comprehensive and includes both of those ideas.
Ultimately, our facility plan, which we'll talk about at some future date, should include the environmental strategies with them. To me, it's about return on investment. Do we spend the money now to use less energy in the future, which hopefully costs us less, but also makes it better for the environment as well. So it's a win-win in my mind.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Ms. Full?
Yeah, so my question kind of aligns with Mr. Thielen's. So the city of Omaha actually just recently passed a environment plan, a sustainability plan. And I was just wondering, are we partnering with the city at all? Kind of, because I know their plan was very extensive. And so I always believe in partnership and collaboration. And I just wondered if there was any partnership on that end with the city of Omaha.
We don't have a direct partnership with the city, but one of the advantages of working with Virtus is they're very aware of many of those plans. They worked with the university system. I have a copy of Creighton's environmental sustainability plan sitting on my desk that I was supposed to get read this weekend. I'm still working on. But so we have been working with others and doing that great research so that we get the best ideas and the ideas that support us the best.
And then I have one more question. I don't know if you're the best one to answer it, though. I was just wondering, if we ever find ourselves with an abundance of leftover food, what do we do with that food? Or is that even an issue that we have at the school?
I am probably not the best one to answer that, but the best person to answer that's probably not here tonight. That's Tammy Yarman, our nutrition director. She works very... I would hire Tammy to run restaurants across the nation for me. Tammy is very good about making sure we don't have extras so that we're not wasting money. I do know that we have given some food to some local charities or food banks, fresh food when we've had issues like snow days or different things. But in general, Ms. Sharman works very hard to make sure that that doesn't happen because we can't waste those federal dollars.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions, colleagues? No? All right. Well, thank you so much for the presentation. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, next we have item J1C, update to policies 3410, 5418, 5423, 6000, 6110, 6114, 6115, 6116, and 6290 with Policy Committee Chairman Mr. Thielen.
Thank you, Mr. Head, and I'm going to just double check. I think we've got, yeah, we're one right after the other. So the first, I'm just going to go through these real briefly. First of all, the Policy Committee met on February 9th and February 23rd. All members in attendance, that's you, Mr. Head, myself, Ms. Erdenberger, and Ms. Juarez. And these are the policies. We've been discussing mostly the 6000 series, going back on some policies that have needed revision, a little bit more revision. And these are the ones that are ready for information items. 3410 is the safe driving record standards for drivers. Really just technical updates here, making sure that we're taking into consideration all the things that we need to when we're looking at the requirements for our drivers. 5418 is the McKinney-Vento District Homeless Student Policy, and really just, again, technical and clarifying changes here. 5423 is non-service animals in schools. You might remember that when we were doing the 5000s, we had a couple policies around animals in, service animals in schools. This is about animals that are not there for a service purpose. And it looks like, we kind of, the way it's structured in the red line, you can see it looks like there's a lot of changes. And really, this is updates to address concerns from teachers and principals about how to address animals in our schools that are not service animals. Policy 6000, just some technical wording changes there. Same with 6110, the school instructional hours. 6114 is titled emergencies and was very brief. And when you look at 6115, that's been updated significantly. That really coincides with updates that we've made in adoption of the standard response protocols for hold, secure, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter that our schools have been practicing. It really goes through all of the different scenarios and the practice that we do for those. And so we decided that 6114 is really redundant at this point. We decided to remove it from the policies. So that covers 6115 as well. 6290 is dedications and commencements. And there's really, we removed some language here that we didn't think was necessary anymore around dress codes at the at graduations. Still, there's lots of discretion here for our administrators to make sure that a dress is appropriate, but it's really just kind of updating that and making it more consistent with how we treat those things now. Happy to take any questions now or offline regarding those policies. This is an information item, so we'll still have opportunities to change them and vote on them if we need to going forward.
All right. Thank you. Do we have any questions, colleagues? Ms. Full?
Thank you. I was just wondering, I know those students, a couple students came 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks for, something like that. I was just wondering, did they indicate that they were satisfied with any of the changes that we were making to the dress code specifically?
I actually had, Dr. McFarland met with them specifically. I was unable to make the meeting, and dress code is our next item on the agenda, so I'm going to have her address that when she comes up.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Should be. Yeah. Oh, no, it's not, because this is, sorry, it's not the next agenda. It's two more down. Yeah, sorry. But we will get to it tonight.
All right.
No, that's all right.
You're good. All right. Well, thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda, we have item J2A, Mr. Smith as the accountability chairman.
Thank you, President Head. First, a little bit of history. We shared this before with staff and families via email. Omaha Public Schools received proposals from 6 research firms. The Accountability Committee interviewed 3 of those firms. Our request for qualifications called out firms with experience supporting language, urban and diverse school districts like ours. Omaha Public Schools is Nebraska's largest school district. We serve 52,000 students every day. We're one of Nebraska's largest employers as well, with 90,000 full and part-time employees. And we are really just trying to take this opportunity to make sure that we get this right for our community. The Accountability Committee recommends GR Recruiting to assist with our search. GR Recruiting has more than 40 years of experience with superintendent searches. As we reached our final decision, GR Recruiting knows the Omaha Public Schools. We will be working with an experienced firm that benefits board members who have done a search before and new members. Their team will organize and host as many stakeholder engagement meetings as we want. Community input is important to us. We will be listing in many ways through the search. The entire agreement is also posted on the Board of Education agenda. If the board approves this agreement, we will work with their staff to plan the timeline and community engagement. We'll share the information with staff, families in our community once dates and times are finalized. We will take the time needed to do what's best for our students, staff, and families. Back to you, if there's not any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith, and I'd echo your comments on the importance of community engagement. I know Ms. Foles commented already tonight, and I think every member of the Accountability Committee has mentioned at least once so far about the importance of community engagement and community involvement throughout the process. So with that, Ms. Kratky, you had a question?
Is there anything more specific than GR for the name of the firm? I mean, I looked at it, I can't determine why is it GR? What does it stand for?
It's the name of the owners, the associates. It's the
Who?
name, that's their name.
I get it, but you don't know their name, or we don't know their name. GR, I don't know who that is. Does anyone know who that is? Do you, Jane, know who that is? You do?
It is
Gary Ray Associates.
Gary Ray
Oh,
and
thank you.
Associates.
Okay, I read that somewhere.
And I
before,
believe
but-
they were the search firm that we used most recently, and Mr. Ray has formed a new company, so
Okay.
he just calls it GR.
All right. It's not him, he wanted us to know.
And we should note that Mr. Ray of GR Associates is no relation to Mr. Ray of Omaha Public Schools.
Thank you. Well, people might ask
All right.
me.
Any other questions, comments?
It might be something they want to
Ms.
know.
Full.
Thank you. I was just wondering, why did GR Recruiting kind of rise above the rest? Or why did we feel so strongly about choosing them over the other ones?
Well, we can all answer. With me, it was knowing that they've worked with us before to find Dr. Logan. Us 3 went through that process before, so it gives us the opportunity to mentor some of the newer faces here to kind of explain how the process works, how it rolls out, and then not having to go and backtrack a lot of the different things that some of the other firms would have to do that's already been done and is in place. So it helps us with a timeline to move forward, so we're not stalled out and just waiting to move through the process. One of the things.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions, comments? All right, Mr. Thielen.
Yeah, I'll just point out that, this is the hiring of the firm, and they made a point of pointing out that this is, this is our search, and the Accountability Committee will be involved in, helping to design it and make it work for Omaha. So if you have input on how that should work, definitely talk to members of the Accountability Committee, make sure your input is heard.
Thank you. Any other? No? All right. Mr. Smith, as the committee chair, did you make a motion for approval?
I just wanted to add another thing. It's really important that we have a firm that knows diversity and knows what our district looks like, and our actual committee looks like that as well. We have a very diverse accountability committee, so we're able to speak on and request and ask things that is really representative of the district, and so we just feel like we did what was right for our students and our families and teachers, educators.
Yep, go ahead, Ms. Full.
One more follow-up question. Sorry, asking a lot of questions tonight. I'm kind of just wondering, what was the formula, or kind of like, how did we decide to use the GR recruiting over the others? Was there some type of rubric, something like that?
There was a couple of them. Could you?
So when the 6 firms and President Head, Vice President Smith, thank you for the question. So there were 6 firms. As part of the 6 firms, all 4 members of the Accountability Committee went through the scoring rubric. So they were able to number and weight each firm. And through that process, it helped narrow down the firms for the interview process, and then those firms receiving the highest marks were interviewed, and then in addition to the marks, the personal interviews, the way that they answered the questions, I believe was part of that process.
Perfect, thank you. Do we have a motion on the floor, Mr. Smith?
I move that we accept the recommendation of the Accountability Committee to go with GR Associates.
All right, and since it's a committee recommendation, we don't need a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Ray, please call the roll.
Cracky.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Thielen.
Aye.
Cassidy.
Aye.
Erdenberger.
Aye.
Full.
Aye.
Head.
Aye.
Holman.
Aye.
Juarez.
Aye.
9 aye.
Thank you. Moving on, we have item J2B, approval of the first reading of the Code of Conduct revisions for the 2023-2024 school year with Dr. McFarland.
Mr. Ray, are you gonna, yeah, sorry. I probably would've screwed it up. The arrows, okay. I have a small space here. So let's see. So good evening, President Head, Vice President Smith, members of the Board of Education, and Dr. Logan. We come to you tonight to share the district administration's recommendations for the 2023-24 Student Code of Conduct. The code is designed to support disciplinary actions, intervention strategies, and behavior resolutions for all students, grades kindergarten through 12 in the Omaha Public Schools. We begin our annual revision process with the review of updates to our state statutes, our OPS policies, safety, our school practices related to school safety, application of the current code, rules, standards, and expectations regarding student conduct in our schools, and those that are reasonably necessary to support the purpose of school. We convene a Code of Conduct Revision Committee comprised of representatives from our building principals, elementary, middle, and high school, our alternative program directors, administrators, teachers, Omaha Education Association leadership, curriculum and instruction to include special education, school safety, and other student and community services staff members. We have considered input from our teachers, our students, our families, and administrators. Much of the input we receive from students and families comes from real situations of application of the Student Code of Conduct. over the past couple of years. This year, we also had the opportunity, as was mentioned, to meet with students who appeared before this board in February to share additional input from their peers about their research and application of guidelines related to student dress in our schools, and specifically personal appearance at school. After the meeting, we made additional edits that we'll review with you this evening. We also had the opportunity to present the Student Code of Conduct to the Policy Committee of the board. And we have made some, based on their feedback, we have made some additional edits that you will have in the draft that you have before you this evening. So before I begin, I want to confirm that you have all the documents that I will be referencing. The first is the 47-page draft of the 2023-24 Student Code of Conduct. There is a 2-page summary that highlights for you all the recommended changes since the last board adoption in 2022. And finally, we've included a copy of tonight's PowerPoint. Before I begin, I would just like to make a few comments about the Student Code of Conduct to provide some context for its purpose and intended use in our schools. The Student Code of Conduct is one of 3 documents that make up each school's student and family handbook. First are those school-specific pages that have information for the specific learning environment at that school. Secondly, we have the district handbook. There are 3 versions aligned to elementary, middle, and high school that has information regarding curriculum, academics, nutrition, nutritional services, health, and those issues that pertain to the grade levels. The third section of the handbook is our Student Code of Conduct. As I stated, our code has a K-12 application that is intended to be non-prescriptive, meaning that it doesn't say if this happens, this will always be the response. And that is because our Code of Conduct is applied to students in our schools ages 5 through 12 in a variety of stages of their development with different backgrounds and experiences. The purpose of our code is to communicate, most importantly, that we have rules and expectations for the learning environment, and that when there is a violation of our expectations, there is often a response. And sometimes that response can rise to the level of an administrative response that may remove a student for a period of time from the learning environment. Our Code of Conduct is also a guideline for our administrators when responding to student behavior. We use this as a resource to train our students, our staff, and our families, and to support our teaching and learning approach to behavior management. We believe that all behavior is a form of communication, and we approach misbehavior as a student indicating a need for additional supports, for reteaching, or for additional intervention. Our goal is not to punish our students for their misbehavior. It is to identify the resources and the intervention to support them in their skill development and so they can reach the desired outcomes. It is also to support the purpose of school and to maintain the learning environment for all students and staff in our community. Finally, while we refer to our Student Code of Conduct as a code, it is not intended as an adaptation of the criminal or civil code applied to children in our schools. It is not intended to codify every possible behavior situation, nor is it considered to be all-encompassing or comprehensive. That is one of the reasons that we commit to the annual revision process, and we begin each school year with instruction for all students, staff, and families on the Code of Conduct, making sure that they all understand that these are expectations to support our students and the learning environment of our schools, and the possibility for those violations that may result in a student being removed for a period of time from the learning environment. So let's get started with the review. On the very first page, page 1 of the 47-page draft, you will see the change in year from 2000 to 2023-24. The next change is on page 11 of the draft, and that is under the excessive tardies and hall sweep violation, a level 1 violation. We just have a simple correction of a grammatical error of changing from the word rang to rung. Also on page 11, we have the change to the inappropriate clothing violation. As was referenced earlier, this was not originally on our agenda to look at, but after students raised the concern and shared information, we took that input back, looked at what the students had presented to the board, and then we made some corrections and adjustments. And yes, Ms. Full, we did have an opportunity to share that with the students. We are recommending to remove the language that is there currently, clothing which is construed to be distracting to the learning environment per district and school guidelines. We are recommending replacing that language with words or images that promote alcohol, drug use, weapons, insult or demean others, or disrupt the school environment are not acceptable at school. You will also notice just below that we included also see dress and personal appearance, and we've highlighted page 22. I will just use this as an example. Anytime you see a reference to a page number in the draft, we've highlighted it so that we can go back and make those final changes when we have the final draft. So as I highlight to you this change to our level 1 violation, as you can see on the slide, this is on page 11. Further in our draft on page 22, we've also included this same language in our glossary definition. And then I would like to refer you to page 38, which is under the additional information in the code after the violations. We do have a section called dress and personal appearance, and we are making a recommendation to amend that as well. On page 38, currently it reads, your personal appearance is basically a concern of you and your parents and guardians. However, a student's appearance should promote positive opportunities for learning. We are recommending to end the sentence there and remove the words and not disrupt the school environment. Further, we are recommending amending number 2 down below, and we are adopting the same or recommending the same language that is very similar to what we have in that violation, level 1 violation. Words or images that promote alcohol, drug use, weapons that insult or demean others, or that disrupt the school environment are not acceptable at school. On page 15, we have 2 violations that are new that we are recommending. The first is listed there as trespassing. The definition, to enter or remain on any school district property or property where a school event is being held without authorization and with no legitimate purpose for entry. You will see that this has been recommended as a level 2 violation, but again, with a K-12 application, depending on the student, the incident, the impact on the school community, it may rise to a level 2, 3, or 4 response. We are also recommending that we add the administrative response that law enforcement may be contacted. And that is to align to the fact that if there is a huge disruption, damage to school property, we will make sure that we are advising our administrators that they do have the ability to contact law enforcement. Our second new violation, right below, is unauthorized entry. Allowing or assisting any individual to enter a district building other than through the designated entrances or that breaches any method of established security. Also being recommended as a level 2 violation, but depending on the situation, the age and capacity of the student, the impact to the school community, it may merit a level 2, 3, or 4 response. And again, we are recommending the administrative response that law enforcement may be contacted. We will include both of these, the same language for both of the new violations in those glossary definitions that are on page 25 in the draft. The next recommendation is on page 17. Under drugs, possession, or under the influence violation, we are removing reference to see definitions for level interventions at the school level and replacing it with add glossary or see glossary with a reference to the page number. We are also recommending the administrative response, removing referral to a counselor for a substance abuse screening, and that is because of the requirement to be certified, and our school counselors are not certified in administering that substance abuse screening. And we are replacing it with law enforcement will be contacted. I would also reference the glossary definition. In this case, I would ask you to turn to page 27 because I would like you to see what we are recommending that we remove and what we are recommending that we add. Previously, on page 27, you can see that we had level of interventions and response guidelines for secondary students. That would be for middle and high school. But we have looked at the responses and our practices related to drugs and under the influence, and we are going to add this across the board K-12, making sure that we take that teaching and learning approach with parents and guardians will be contacted and provided with school and community resources to support substance abuse. Repeated violations may increase the severity of response to include recommendation for a mandatory reassignment to another school or program, and law enforcement will be contacted. If you look at what we are recommending removing, it was much more prescriptive on a first offense. These are some guidelines, a second offense, a third offense, and even a fourth offense. What we have found in practice is that we are doing all of those things by sharing information with parents or guardians, really taking that teaching and learning approach that there's a problem here in this behavior that's being communicated. We want to help support the family. At the same time, if we do have repeated violations, it may have, again, increased the severity of the response to the point that we would be referring to law enforcement. We also make a reference to another informational piece in our code that's on page 46, and that is where we already list alcohol. We have information about tobacco, alcohol, and drugs. And as I stated, that is currently on the second to the last page, which is page 46. There are no recommended changes to that section. On page 18, we are recommending amending our public indecency description. Previously, our description just said behaviors described in Nebraska State Statute 28-806. And if you turned to the glossary, and you turn there now on page 29, you would see the language of Nebraska Statute 28-806. The difference is that that state statute refers to, this applies to students over the age of 12 and under the age of 19. Additionally, this last year, the Nebraska Department of Education added a requirement to our district to report incidents of public indecency, aligning to the state statute, but they only want us to report it for students that are 12 years of age and older. Therefore, we are recommending the additional language that says behaviors described in Nebraska Statute 28-806, except that this violation shall apply only to students at least 12 years of age. For students under age 12, other violations may apply. In looking at how that has been applied over the past few years, we found that this was in compliance then, because for students that were in elementary schools, it may have been applied incorrectly as far as the behavior that the schools are seeing, and so we will work with our administrators to understand when we would apply public indecency. Also, we make reference to see the glossary and that law enforcement may be contacted. If you turn on this one to the glossary definition on page 29, in addition to the recommended language of this violation shall apply only to students at least 12 years of age, For students under age 12, other violations may apply. We have also added the last line, for students 18 years of age or over, law enforcement will be contacted. And again, that is to align to state statute. As you can see just above that number 2, public indecency is a class 2 misdemeanor for persons 18 years of age and over. On page 22, this is the glossary definition where we have replaced the definition for that level 1 violation of inappropriate clothing. And also on that same page 22, under the definition for inappropriate language, we are removing the line that says, also see dress and personal appearance, page 22, as that was applied at the inappropriate violation glossary definition. It should have been under inappropriate clothing, so we're making that correction. On page 25, we are making the recommendation to add under tobacco and vapor devices use of the additional language at the bottom of that description. Vapor devices have been shown to trigger building fire alarm systems. Please be aware that using vaping devices on campus may result in additional violations being applied. See false alarm, bomb threat, and it makes a reference to the page. In the draft that you have, that information is on page 30. And under false alarm, the language that aligns to this is causing a substantial disruption to the school environment and/or placing students at risk by making a false report or activating an alarm. Law enforcement may be contacted. So that's no change, but it does align to where we are with vaping devices. And please understand that it is incumbent upon the school administration to be able to make the connection that it was the vaping device that set off the alarm and who had possession of the vaping device. Also on page 25, you have the glossary definition for trespassing and the glossary definition for unauthorized entry. On the next page, page 26, we have a change, not a change, but a correction to reference to state statute. It was typed incorrectly in a previous version, and so we are amending that to 79-2137 is the correct reference. And that is under our bullying definition and reference to state statute. On page 27, as I stated a little bit earlier, when we talk about drugs, possession, or under the influence, our recommendation is to delete or remove the previous reference to levels of intervention that were for only secondary students and include our recommended language that will be for all students. On page 29 is the change that we have recommended to public indecency under this glossary definition. And on page 38, previously we had information, additional information in the code that talked about book bags, and it was applied only to middle and high school. With the advent of our iPads and providing students with sleeves to carry them in, we do encourage families, if they want to have book bags that they're in our elementary schools in which students put their items, they may do so. So we are removing the recommendation here that this is just middle and high school, and we are also adding additional language to this information about personal items. So on the slide you can see the part that is the blue, dark blue, is the current language, and we are recommending additional language that is identified in green. So it will be book bags and personal items. Students may carry book bags, backpacks, or similar items to transport books, supplies, and other belongings. Bags are subject to inspection and the student is responsible for all contents. The new recommended language: objects that have no school-related purpose or that create a disruption to the learning environment may result in the object being confiscated until the end of the school day, and/or a parent or guardian being required to pick up the object. Repeated violations may be viewed as insubordination, resulting in additional application of the Student Code of Conduct. And then the current language ends: all lockers and their contents are subject to random searches by school staff without prior notification to students. Please see OPS policy 5406 regarding student searches for additional information. And just so you are aware, we do have that in the district level handbook that is in the school student and family handbook, which also contains the code of conduct. And the final recommendation for an update is on page 46, where we talk about surveillance cameras. We are removing the language, if an incident involves 2 or more students, then all parents or guardians must provide written consent to view the video. Written consent is not needed for students who are not seen in the video but are not involved in the incident. This is an update that aligns to OPS policy 3231 and also from guidance we've received regarding FERPA rights. If we maintain video as a student record, specifically in the discipline process, the parent, and we use that video as part of the discipline process, FERPA guidance tells us that parents have the right to view that video. We do not need to obtain written consent from all parents. And again, that is if we use that video to discipline a student and we maintain it as part of a student record. And this concludes the proposed revisions to the Student Code of Conduct for 2023-24. At this time, we'll take your questions, but ask the board to approve the first reading.
All right, thank you, Dr. McFarland. And let's go ahead and get a motion on the table, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So does someone want to make a motion to approve the first reading of the Code of Conduct revisions for the 2023-24 school year?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Thielen, second by, is that Dr. Holman? Perfect, thank you. It's technically not a committee recommendation, so yeah, we need a second. Mr. Thielen, as the policy committee chair, I know most of this falls under your wheelhouse, so we'll give you the first bite at the apple here.
I just thank Dr. McFarland and your team for the work that you do. And no, we did have these students that came to our board meeting, and that was great. But I also know that this is a process that you really do go out and talk to students at the front end too, and try to elicit feedback. So I appreciate that really in-depth process as we go through. And I'd encourage board members who aren't familiar with that, how this gets rolled out and how the process happens, to ask any questions you have about that too. It's helpful to understand how those processes work.
Thank you. Ms. Cracky?
As a parent, I would find the clothing statements ambivalent, and they are not clear to me at all as a classroom teacher. I would not, at this point, unless the principal was sharing with us what it was or wasn't, I wouldn't know what that meant.
So part of the discussion that we had with students talked about historically how what they would say dress code policy may have been unintentionally discriminatory against religion or stereotypes or males and females. So part of it is adapting the language. We have changed over time to remove all reference to gender. And so if you look at where we have dress and personal appearance, and that is on page 38, we do talk about students must be fully clothed with a covered torso and shoes. Again, the recommendation to number 2, where we talk about images that promote alcohol, drug use, weapons, insult or demean others, or disrupt the school environment are not acceptable at school, and that we do have exception to the guidelines on spirit days as long as those things are approved. And in talking with the students, when we talk about the changes that we are implementing, They are willing to work with us on informational lessons or what we would call just short presentations about specifically what is appropriate and not appropriate for the learning environment.
I'm still not talking about weapons. I'm going back to the short shorts that are very, very inappropriate. I see them. Some principals may think it's inappropriate and others may think that's appropriate. I don't feel it's appropriate. So that's one thing that isn't clarified there. And I think it should serve every student in every school. I don't think we should just let a principal decide, I like those really short shorts, and the other people know it needs to be covered up. I've seen it, so I know.
So if that is causing a disruption to the environment, for example, a student is saying, I am offended by this, or we can't focus, then that is something for a principal to take a look at. At the same time, we are saying that their torsos must be covered,
Okay.
and that we are not showing
Body parts.
undergarments and body parts.
Okay. Want to be sure that's in there because it's could be very, very controversial to some people. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Ms. Wolf?
Thank you, Dr. McFarland, for coming in that very thorough explanation of all the changes in the Student Code of Conduct. I appreciate that. I was just wondering, have we seen an uptick in like trespassing and drug use to the point where we need to make changes in the Student Code of Conduct? Is that kind of why the changes were made, or we just kind of saw the need for this?
So part of our process, we take a look, as I said, at across our state, across our community, and even our country with school safety, and making sure that we have a code that is also supporting a safe learning environment for all students. So that is part of what we have seen. We have had some students, for example, that are in a school during an evening event with a basketball game, and they may find their way into another place. We didn't have anything that we could use as a teachable that is a violation of our expectations. So that contributed to part of what we were including in this year's recommendation.
Okay, thank you. And then just one other question, and it doesn't really relate to the changes, so I'm sorry if this throws you off guard, but I read, I'm a big fan of restorative justice, especially when it comes to discipline in schools, and so I saw restorative justice referenced in the Student Code of Conduct, but I didn't really see any examples of how it was implemented or practiced in our schools, and so I was just wondering, maybe you can get the answer to me at another time, or if you just had a couple of examples off the top of your head right now, what practices we currently use in OPS with restorative justice.
Thank you for that question, and you've really struck a chord with where I think, because you said restorative practices, and that is what we use with our administration. When we do our training, we talk about really looking at our strategic plan of action and our ethic of care, and that is our approach to discipline with social emotional support and restoring a student to that learning environment, because where they are developmentally and the capacity of their brain development, sometimes they don't realize the impact that the behavior has had on others in their community. And so how can we work to teach that teaching and learning approach? Again, not to punish a student, but to recognize where they are and the particular situation and how we can really look at the restorative practice, restoring a student to that community, and also restoring that student to understanding that their behavior does have an impact on others.
I would like to add that we also do not use restorative justice. The restorative justice programs came out of the prison systems, and some of the initial training for restorative justice came from folks from prisons, and so as a point of importance in teaching, we don't use that word. We talk about practice with our young people so as not to be confused with the penal system.
Thank you. Yeah, I've just been reading a lot of articles about how restorative practices are used in schools and really the innovative ways that they're doing this around the country. And so I just wondered if there were specific examples that you could offer me. But anyways, thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Kraken?
I just want to make note of the fact that I'm very proud of OPS because I do look at a lot of TV around the country and what's happening. And working together in our schools and with the community and with the police department, we do a wonderful job, I think, as a whole. And so I'm very proud of us because you see that other students, I feel so sorry for them, and what is happening in some situations. And we just have to keep our eye on the prize, I guess, and be sure that we don't turn into one of those. I'm very proud, and I stick up for what we're doing. So thank everybody for helping do that. And teachers, too. You are working so hard. And I know that you have a lot going on, and I hope we're giving you the support you need because it's a big deal for them. You can't teach if they are not going to be in the seat and responding to you. So thank everybody, and if we're seeing something out there, let's address it. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further comments? Nope. Ms. Juarez?
So I just wanted to get a little bit better clarification of, at the grade school level, like a first or second grader, how are they being informed about the student code of conduct? Because obviously we have all grade levels. So is it up to the principal on how they want to do it in their school? I'm trying to understand how we really get a good communication to all the levels.
So, and thank you, that is an excellent question. We do, at the start of the year, with our administrators, when they come back, we hold what's called our due process workshop, where we really talk about all of the changes. And all of our schools are required at the start of the year and when a student enrolls in their school to review with them the school rules and expectations. We reference the code of conduct. With our elementary students, we also have that information shared directly with the parents. It is put on all of our student iPads, and all of our teachers do that instruction at the very beginning of the school with the developmental appropriateness for that grade level. We also have this year students that have been willing to partner with us on helping us create some lessons that would be elementary, middle school, and high school related on different aspects of following rules, what the school learning environment is like, and why we have these rules and expectations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Zerdenberger?
Thank you, Dr. McFarland, very thorough. And I guess I just wanted to mention, for the benefit of some of the other people who are not on the policy committee, that it just so happened that our committee meeting was the day after the young people from Lewis and Clark were here, I believe. Well, it was shortly after that. All I know is that Dr. McFarland had gone in and done some data research on how often in middle schools generally clothing violations had been identified in whatever database we keep. And it was very, very rare. And so I think what we concluded was there was a lot of chatter in the halls where teachers and or administrators were going, pull down your shirt, take off your hat, and even enforcing rules that aren't even in the code anymore. So one of the things I really appreciated was Dr. McFarland's understanding that not only do the students need to learn what the code of conduct is, but maybe we need to make sure that admin knows where, how it has evolved, and maybe part of what the students were responding to was administration in their school, just sort of on the fly, giving feedback, so to speak, but it wasn't really in the code of conduct. So a little bit of education on both sides.
That was exactly my conversation with the students. They shared information and stories from their peers, and we did take a look at the data as a group, and they had that same realization that we just need to do a great job of really communicating with all of our stakeholders about the integrity of the learning environment, and that we are not singling out student, whether it's a male or a female, we actually have an expectation for how our students that we heard from at the board meeting talked about a professional environment, and we had a great discussion about what is a professional learning environment, and so that is what we are going to go forward with for our lessons in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cracky?
And we might add, don't we still have our charts in the halls?
Yes, thank you. We are required to have the student code of conduct violations posted in all of our schools, and we do create those as well for the beginning of the year, and we disseminate them to all schools, and they are posted in the common areas. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Full?
That really got me thinking, the last question you answered about the dress code, about discrepancies in the schools and the way that administrators or teachers follow through with the student code of conduct. And it just made me wonder, do we track the discrepancies? Like this school decided to handle it this same situation one way, and then another school decided to handle it another way. Do we ever track that?
We do. We do look at the application of that is part of our multi-tiered systems of support for behavior and how our schools do look at incidents. As I said when we started, we really don't have a prescriptive response because we know that every situation is different. Whether it's a grade level, whether it's the student, whether it's their first time, whether it's their seventh time. And so we do try to take a look overall. And then we also do a monthly training with our school support liaisons, which are the extension of the student and community services that help support the schools with attendance and behavior, and making sure that we are regularly having what we would say are scenarios and talking about how might this be applied, how can we as student and community services support our building principals to make good decisions. Again, we want to take the teaching and learning approach. And to be honest, sometimes that's with our administration as well, or our teaching staff. We do the due process workshop for all administrators, but we are going to be more intentional with providing them with lessons, newsletter articles, opportunities for their faculty meetings to make sure that they as a building community are also looking at those changes and are aware of them so that we can have more alignment to following what is in our district policy.
One other thing to add is what we do track is how those impact students. So we track the outcomes and what happens to children in terms of disproportionality and how certain children may be impacted by something in the code and others not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we track. That's the most important thing, what
Mm-hmm.
happens to our students.
Right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? All right. Well, Dr. McFarland, before we wrap it up, I just want to say thank you to you and your team. I know there's a lot of work that you do year-round to put into making sure that the student code of conduct is updated and in the best possible form. So thank you for your work on it.
Thank you. It is a team effort.
So, and we have a motion by Mr. Thielen, a second by Dr. Holman. So, Mr. Ray, can you please call the roll?
Smith.
Aye.
Thielen.
Aye.
Cassidy.
Aye.
Erdenberger. Aye. Full.
Aye.
Head.
Aye.
Holman.
Aye.
Juarez.
Aye.
Cracky.
Aye.
9-9.
All right, motion carries. And next item on the agenda is item J2C, approval of the report of the legislative committee, including recommended legislative positions, with the legislative committee chair, Ms. Full.
Thank you. So we had another busy week in the legislature. We testified on behalf of a bill related to the governor's new plan for funding education in Nebraska. So that was an interesting hearing that we had. We also had the senator lunch where members of the legislative committee met with some senators to talk with them about OPS, about education, all the things relating to what affects us as a school district. And then at our last legislative committee meeting, we were able to take stances on bills and also go over the key priority bills that have now been designated by committees and by senators, because if they prioritize a bill, it has a better chance of being heard by the full legislature and them debating it and the bill ultimately passing. So we wanted to make sure that we had a good discussion about those bills and how we as a district are going to be engaging with them. And so on the agenda, you can find the bills that we took stances on. And if you have any questions, let me know, but I'm going to refrain from listing every single one of them this meeting, because I think that got a little repetitive the last couple times I did it. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Full. And we have a motion on the table. It's a committee motion, so it doesn't require a second. Do we have any discussion? Ms. Zerdenberger.
I would just like to say that if Lindsay Apfel is listening to this board meeting, thank you very much for having gone to the trouble to put all of the bills and the titles and our position on them, because I know that it doesn't come through the system automatically. So thank you for everybody that was part of that effort, but particularly Ms. Apfel.
I second that. Mrs. Kratky.
I third it because it just makes such a difference on our agenda, rather than having a whole set of things beside us to references. And before we didn't, we just heard a number, and for the audience and all of our people that listen to us, I know they want to know what all that is. So thanks again, everybody, to do that.
Perfect. Any other discussion? All right, well, Ms. Full, I just wanted to say real quick, thank you for your testimony on behalf of the board last week. I know there's a number of us that have gone down and testified, and it's not always fun to sit in the chair in front of the committee, but thank you for doing that on behalf of the board. I did have one question for you. I know earlier it was asserted that we have, outside organizations or forces kind of leading us to take some of the positions that we take on the legislative committee. I've been on the committee for 3 years now. I know you're in your first year on the committee and as the committee chair. Do you ever have outside organizations come in and tell you how the Omaha Public Schools should take positions on bills?
Outside of our, people that we pay, our lobbyists, no. We do work with several organizations throughout Nebraska that make their own stances, but we do have a number of bills that we have broke with on those organizations to oppose or support certain legislation. And so I really want to emphasize how important it is for the community to be heard on, the stances that OPS takes legislatively. And I can assure you that I hear constantly from our teachers, from our community, from everybody really, about these issues that are affecting the district and how we should take our stance on them. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
Yes.
All right, seeing no other questions, we have a motion, don't need a second. Mr. Ray, can you please call the roll?
Thielen.
Aye.
Cassidy.
Aye.
Erdenberger. Full.
Aye.
Head.
Aye.
Holman.
Aye.
Juarez.
Aye.
Kratky.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
9 aye.
All right, the motion carries. We have 4 receipt reports on the agenda this evening. Item K1B, the CBOC update for Phase 2 bond programs, February 2023. Item K2, the Head Start annual report to the public, 2021-2022. Item K3, the Head Start monthly board report for January 2023. And item K4, the second quarter board conference expenses 2022 and 2023. Moving to closed session, Mr. Smith for a motion.
I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals to discuss with the superintendent, secretary to the board, Shane Ryan, and legal counsel pending litigation, negotiations, and legal advice.
Perfect. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Zerdenberger, any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Ray, please call the roll.
Cassidy.
Aye.
Erdenberger. Full.
Aye.
Head.
Aye.
Holman.
Aye.
Juarez.
Aye.
Cracky. Smith.
Aye.
Thielen.
Aye.
9 aye.
All right, motion carries. Let me remind the board that the purpose of closed session is for the protection of the public interest and the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals, to discuss with the superintendent, secretary of the board, Shane Ryan, and legal counsel, negotiations pending litigation and legal action. Let the record reflect that the board went into closed session at 8:29 p.m. Let the record reflect the board came out of closed session at 9:07 p.m. Let the record reflect that the board meeting adjourned at 9:07 p.m.